The narrative.
The narrative.
The narrative. The narrative.
The narrative.
The narrative. The narrative. Changing the narrative. An initiative powered by OPG.
Welcome back to the Changing the Narrative podcast. On today's episode, I am here with Vidette Adjorlolo, and we're going to get into everything travel. I will leave Vidette to introduce herself because I feel like she would do a much better job. So Vidette, over to you.
Hi, I'm super excited to be here, Ikria. My name is Vidette Adjorlolo. I'm the founder and chief chale, as I like to call myself, at Sorted Chale. Sorted Chale is a curated experiences company, which I think is at the helm of culture in Africa and the diaspora. We love to connect the diaspora and the international community through travel. And that's one of just many things that we wish to do for the continent of Africa in terms of progressing it and putting at the spotlight of everything culture in Africa.
That's amazing. I really like the name of your company. Like, how did you come up with that? Because it's like, it gives, I've got you, like, Chale is sorted, like, Sorted Chale.
That's exactly what it's about. That's exactly what we wish to do. So, Sorted Chale, how we came up with the name of the company is, I wish there was like a powerful story and I'd say, it's so deep. But honestly, I was raised in London as well as Ghana. And in London, we often say like, sorted mate. When you're getting something, like you're sorted mate. And I wanted to kind of transpose that into Ghanaian lingo. And chale is obviously something that, we as Ghanaians say all the time. And I think it was a great opportunity to internationalize and globalize the word chale, which means so much to a lot of us Ghanaians. So that's how I went about it. And that's how I ended up with the name Sorted Chale, which essentially means your experiences and everything that you do with us is completely and utterly sorted, my brother, my friend.
Well, that's really amazing. I know you said like it's not that deep, but I mean, I feel like some kind of thought went into it. So it kind of is.
Perhaps.
So what made you fall in love with traveling?
Wow. I mean, honestly, travel is my life. I always say this, like without travel, I wouldn't be the person I am today. It's opened my mind. It's shaped the way I view the world. It's shaped how I interact with people. I started traveling from when I was young. And there were significant moments in my life where I realized that travel had become so imprinted in me. I remember once I got dumped by a boyfriend, so I packed my bags. I booked a one-way flight to Southeast Asia to go and do backpacking, and then just kind of started traveling around Southeast Asia. And I just came back feeling so energized and so revived. And it was that moment that I knew that travel was such a big part of my life. And I think that travel has such a big transformational power. And one of the reasons why I started Sorted Chale was because I wanted people to experience what I experienced, of how it set me free and how it changed who I was as a person. And that's how Sorted Chale came about. But even more importantly, it was also the fact that I realized that I was traveling around the world promoting different parts of the world, but not promoting my home, not promoting Africa. Africa is such a dope place, And I wanted people to experience. It's so dope. Like I just came back from Zanzibar and I'm just like, whoa.
I saw that. Like I was like, I should have been on that trip.
Girl, you should have.
I was like, the FOMO was too real. Like the FOMO, it was too real, but it really looked amazing.
Yes, and Zanzibar was brilliant. And all these things make me think, more people like myself need to be at the helm of bringing and prioritizing how people access the continent of Africa, which is why we're essentially here. And that's how I fell in love with travel.
I mean, that's amazing. That's really, really dope. And like you said, I think one thing I really love is how you're more concerned about promoting like the African continent, like the countries in the African continent. I mean, I feel like traveling in Ghana really became a big thing, like at least a few years back. I mean, shout out to this travel blogger. She's called Acquisition. I feel like she's the one that really inspired me to really travel within the country. I mean, yeah, there were times where like my parents would take us to Cape Coast and Avery, the places, the normal ones that we know, like the normal places that we all go for like vacation being Ghana. But then it was Sorted Chale, and I was like, oh wow, because there's so many stereotypes. You hear like going to certain regions, there are these stories, and it sounds scary, but then you actually go and you realize that wow, this is so beautiful. Like the landscape is really, really dope. And for me, I think, like I said, I really love how you're promoting like the other African countries. Because I think I quite saw you making some connections with Egypt. And I know that you also curate experiences in Cote d'Ivoire. So how is that like trying to get all these other countries to be on board with like the vision, the mission, the Sorted Chale? How has that been like?
I mean, I think for me, obviously I'm a Ghanaian citizen. I'm Ghanaian through and through. But there are some places, other countries that are just phenomenal, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously charity starts at home. So when we started Sorted Chale, we started our experiences here in Ghana. But Zanzibar is just freaking amazing. Kenya is amazing. Ivory Coast, Abidjan in Ivory Coast, great city. And for me, it's been very important to not just be so Ghana centric and, constantly within the team, we think about when we're speaking, when we're addressing things on socials and how people perceive us as a team visually. We think a lot about whether we're roping in all the other African countries that we can possibly rope in. What has that experience been like in terms of building these relationships? Obviously, those experiences come with certain differences in cultural expectations and how people navigate the travel scene. So, for instance, perhaps in Ghana, things don't always come when we say 2:00. It doesn't always come at 2:00. That's also part of the experience.
One time.
Exactly. You have to get used to Ghana time, but like somewhere like Kenya is a much more advanced tourism landscape, which means that it also comes with different opportunities as well as challenges. But I've really enjoyed, being able to build those relationships, especially when I'm able to go to those countries beforehand, before we set up the experience, because that means I can connect to some of the local insiders in those countries and really form some powerful relationships with them to really push the agenda of making Africa the number one destination. So for me, overall, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun getting to make.
I mean, it looks amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, but listen, you have an amazing job.
Thank you. It's amazing, but like you said, there is a lot of work that goes into this that people don't see, but no one needs to see that. They just need to see that it's Sorted Chale.
You get me? Yeah, definitely. And I think you're really doing a great job, really sorting us all out. Like, I mean, for me, I'm yet to actually allow you, or let me say, I'm yet to
get the Sorted Chale experience.
Exactly, have a Sorted Chale experience. Thank you very much. I was struggling there. But then, I mean, seeing it on socials and how like you're promoting your business, it's you're really doing a really good job, and it's amazing to watch as well.
Thank you.
So I think my next question, actually, there was a masterclass you had with Afford on cost structures, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because I don't think I've actually experienced a business break down their financials in that way, and it helps because as entrepreneurs or small business owners or business owners in general, like starting out, like sometimes you really don't know where to start. So I think that was very good. However, I digress. In that masterclass, you mentioned promoting local businesses to being in Ghana and as well as I'm sure like the different countries in which you're making connections with as well. Why is that so important to me?
I mean, there's several reasons why that's important. I think Sorted Chale has a lot of privilege in the sense that I'm a diasporan. I can access certain spaces that people, by virtue of lack of legal documents, can't access. Doesn't mean that they don't have the talent. Most people are incredibly talented and should have access to these spaces, but unfortunately they don't. And one of the beautiful things about owning a business that people don't speak about enough, it's really the platform to plug people. And I relish that opportunity. I think that that's a great opportunity. And for me, it's important that when you're given responsibility, you kind of share that with the people who need it the most. And, like Sorted Chale is not about me. It's not a lifestyle business. I do not wish for it to just, fill my pockets and feed my children. I hope that one day Sorted Chale is in a position where people who are up and coming, the underdogs in Africa, find a
Yeah.
need to want to connect to us in order to do better. And I particularly say the underdogs because there's a large number of underdogs in Africa, and there are people who have access and don't necessarily open those doors for those underdogs. And for me, whether that's us, selling a product of a local entrepreneur in the US when we go and do our chale villages in the US, or if that's us, patronizing the works of a local entrepreneur, that's something that I think is very key. Recently, when we went to Zanzibar, we used the diaries of a company called Halal Incorporated that is run by a lady called Mame Fosua. Mame Fosua just graduated from Ashesi University. And for me, that's super important because it's like, how are we putting Halal on? How are we putting all the young underdogs on? So that's a privilege I get to be part of. And like I said, Sorted Chale wants to be at the helm of culture. And culture means young people. Culture means how are we supporting young people across Africa? So that's why it's important for me. I wish I had more people in my camp supporting me and pushing me when I was younger. I mean, I did, and I'm very blessed for that. But imagine if I didn't, I don't think I would be who I am today.
Well, I think that's really great, and I strongly agree with you because it's really important that we put ourselves on. Because this podcast is an initiative of my collective around Odibadbudi, and the main aim for that is to increase Ghanaian and African culture patronage, and that's mainly because I feel like we're always, in my experience, I would say though, there's always you always go for the Western standard things. But then, like you said, there's so many underdogs, there's so many talented people. And it's very important that we also connect these people and we create these platforms for these people. So I really, really love that you're doing this because it's really amazing. And like I always say, if we do not patronize ourselves, who is going to patronize us?
Precisely.
So, girl, you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
So I think my next question for you will be, how has it felt? I think Sorted Chale is almost 2 years. How has the journey been, from start up until now?
I think taking the entrepreneurial route is a very challenging and brave and foolish thing to do because some days you're just looking at yourself like, what am I doing? Let me just go back and work in 9 to 5. But for me, I was born for this. I can't, in as much as there are days where I'm just like, if anyone mentions Sorted Chale around me, I will fight you. I don't want to hear the company name. I am tired. I don't want to. But deep down inside of me, I am so in love with what we're building here. I'm so in love with my team. I'm so in love with being an entrepreneur. I love building. I love working. I love that I am at the forefront of what we will look back in history one day and say, in 2020, December, Sorted Chale was born and Sorted Chale opened the doors for what tourism could look like in Ghana. And I want to be at the helm of that. I want to be part of that. I want to be at the center of that. So it's definitely not glamorous as some people may perceive. We are a brand. So branding is all about making your customers feel good. Branding is making your customers like you. Branding is like going on a date. You want to look good. You're not going to go on the date looking ras unless you don't like the person.
Definitely not. The packaging needs to be important.
Precisely. So we like our customers. We love our customers. So for us, it's very important that our branding looks good. We look good as a business. But behind the scenes of all of that, it's human beings, it's emotions, it's effort, it's disappointments, it's betrayal, it's failing, it's winning. It all comes together. And I would say that how it's felt, it's been the best thing I've ever done in my life. And I say that even regardless of all the kind of challenges that I'm consistently facing in this business, I will do it until I die. It's like,
no, I get you.
It's like what do you say?
Do or die.
No, not do or die. It's 50 cents. 50 Cent has something he says.
Oh, it's something about die. Wow.
Yeah, it's something about die trying.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I wish I knew. Get rich or die trying, but not
that's it.
Get
that's
rich.
it. I can't believe I forgot this.
I'm also like build or die trying. Build it or die trying.
I completely understand you, and I think, like you said, it's a paradox. Like one time you're like, oh, I'm so in love, the next time it's like, I want to kill you. Like, you know, kind of like a relationship. Like you're so in love, and the next moment you're just like, you know what, I don't like you right now. Don't talk to me. Don't look at my face. So I think it's really, really beautiful to hear all of this. Then you did say like you're consistently facing some challenges, and as a female entrepreneur, I can I feel like it's a bit different um with females, especially at a young age in this country in Ghana. Like I feel like you're constantly having to prove yourself more. How has that been for you? Like what are some of the challenges they have faced, and how have you been able to like overcome some of these challenges?
I think for me, the biggest challenge in a country like Ghana is really the way patriarchy works in this country and how men are allowed to get away with a lot of things. It's meant that for someone like me, I've had to change the way I deal in certain situations. I admittedly have a lot of masculine energy that your typical female won't have. But because of Ghana, I've learned to be a little bit more like, oh, sweetie, please do it for
So
me.
cute.
Which is just all like, in my head, I'm rolling my eyes, but I've had to adapt in order to survive in this environment. I don't always think that it's fair because, we don't have to live like this in order to get the things we need. Um, and I think some of the challenges has been in realizing that I have to adapt to essentially be able to work with the patriarchy, right? And that sucks, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order to achieve the things you have to do within reason. There are certain things that I think you're crossing the line would not tolerate, but unfortunately, some people are in positions where they have to cross the line in order to achieve those things. Fortunately for me, I haven't had to be in those situations, and I hope never to be in. But I know that they exist and they're real, and it's very hard for women to speak out against it because of fear of the backlash that they will receive. So that's definitely one of the number one challenge. But I would also say there are also challenges that exist around your age as a young entrepreneur. Let's be real. I'm a 27-year-old. I don't know everything. There are some mistakes I've made in this journey where I'm just like, whoa, why the hell did you do that? But if I don't do it, I'm not gonna learn. And I think it's tough because you make decisions based on the information you have, and information is given to you the more experience you have. Yeah, I'm 27. Sorted Chale is doing pretty okay. We're definitely on the right trajectory, but I'm also making a lot of significant mistakes. And the challenge is my ability to forgive myself and keep moving despite the mistakes I'm making. So yeah, I would say I would call that the challenge of wisdom. And I think for me personally, the other challenge is just how do I make my team happy to be at work, motivated to be at work, whether that's through finance, whether that's through my encouragement, whether that's through giving them opportunities and letting them see a clear path for growth. I would say for me, those are the three most significant challenges I've had in building a business in Ghana. So that would firstly be, navigating the patriarchal system here, fighting the absence of wisdom as a result of my age in some situations, right? And then finally, the people management and making sure that the people you work with are happy to work with you, because I don't be an easy person to work with. Let me tell you the truth today. So just making sure that, there's a balance and there's joy in my team.
I think you're doing a lot because you don't even see it at state. And I think there was something that Hayat Rida that I religiously bottle her stories because I think it's quite motivational. And she did say that failing is a good thing. And like you did say, like you do learn, like you gain experience as you fail. I feel like because of school, I don't know for you, but for me, I feel like because of school, like we're very much like, oh, we need to be the first, oh, we need to get the good grades, but then we don't realize that it's okay to fail, because if you get it wrong, you learn the correct way and then you actually convert. So you do gain like experience. So I think, like you did say, you said something, what will you say? You said the wisdom of age? Yeah. So I think that's the really big thing. However, like, what are some of the joys as well? Because I know that it is not just their challenges, they're also joys. And what are some of these joys you've experienced since you embarked on this journey with your company?
I would say that some of the joys have been in the kind of purpose-driven trips that we run. I love the purpose-driven trips that we run. Those trips always leave me enjoying more than even the chalets who come on the trip. Um, so, for instance, we did Prime Years last year. The
Okay.
feedback was amazing. Everybody was so happy that they had the opportunity to be part of that. Then after Prime Years, we also did, the To My Sister's podcast did the Zanzibar trip with us. And it's always the kind of things I take away, even as the organizer of these trips, things I take away. I'm always so inspired. Um, I think some of the other joys are just like achieving certain milestones that you just didn't anticipate you could achieve, whether that's, hitting a financial target or hitting a kind of community engagement target. Um, those things are the things that make this experience so joyous, or even getting recognition, right? Whether that's an award or, a news article about your company. Those things make the journey worth it, because sometimes you can just be building and thinking nobody's watching you, but there's always somebody watching.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really, really amazing to hear. I think you mentioned Sorted Chale villages. What is that about?
Oh, so we do something called the Chale Villages, where it's essentially an opportunity for us to engage our chalets around the world. We had our first Chale Village in New York, and in October we'll be having our second Chale Villages in Chicago, to really engage our community around the world and just have conversations about the social economic advancement of Africa. So essentially, it's almost like a TEDx for Africa. And it's a great time to bring people together and just like, engage our community and have a good time, really.
So when engaging the community, do you speak maybe on travel or like the address other daily topics?
No, 100%. We have conversations on other things. So in New York, we spoke about how can Africa be better in a post-pandemic world. And in Chicago, we're still exploring what the conversation will look like, but we're kind of exploring whether we have a conversation about how people's identity shapes their entrepreneurial journeys and how they navigate the world.
I mean, that's amazing. So this is like being the business, this is like we're the thing that connect with the diaspora. That's really amazing. Like you said, it's bigger than just yourself. It's bigger than just a travel company. Because you're addressing all of these issues, which I think is really, really amazing. So I like to do this with my guests, whereby like we play a game of favorites or a game of this or that. And so we're going to do that right now. So, but this one is going to be Talent Edition.
Oh.
So I'm just going to ask you like a few questions on the favorites, or will you choose this or that? So I'm going to start. What's your favorite country? Like, what's your favorite country you traveled to? Can you even pick one?
I'm going to have to choose a country in Africa, or maybe I can choose a country in each of the continents. I would say in Africa so far, South Africa is definitely number one on my list right now. I'm just insanely in love with Cape Town. I think Cape Town is one of the most beautiful places I've seen in the world. In Asia, I would say
my bucket list.
Yes, it's amazing. In Asia, I would say Vietnam. I love Vietnam.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with Asia. I think Asia is also a great continent. And then the other country I would choose, which is not Asia or Africa, is Cuba. I think Cuba is also another great destination.
I've always wanted to go, like, then you've confirmed it for me. Okay, that's great. What is your favorite activity to do in all the countries?
So I'm gonna be real. I love to party. Like
that's okay.
I love to party. For me, it's very important to see how people party in different countries. So I love it because it really shows you how people have fun. And I am a firm believer in having fun. I think people need to have more fun, and I say this and people think that you work so hard, how are you having fun? I'm like, no, but when you're right. Having fun, you need to do the fun with a seriousness. Like you have to have serious fun. And I think seeing how people have fun and where they come from is so important and also so wonderful to see. So for me, that's a big thing.
Bro, that's really amazing because I strongly agree with what you're saying because I always say to my friends, guys, enjoyment is a requirement of life. Like, you really need to have fun. But I like how you're saying you need to have fun with the seriousness because
With the
it's really
seriousness.
true. It is
Very
really
deep seriousness. And when you're also like work with seriousness. But when you're having fun, don't play with that fun.
I mean, like they say, work hard, play harder, right?
Exactly.
Great. Okay, so do you prefer direct flights to transit flights?
So let's clarify a little bit here. So is it a stopover for 2 days where I can step out and go and walk around the city for a bit? If it is that type of transit flight, then I will go for that one.
I mean, yeah, we could say that. We could say that.
If that counts, then that's my vibe.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so when it comes to views, do you prefer like a sea view or you prefer like the more, say, like the mountaintop view, you know, the nature kind of vibes? Which one is maybe your kind of thing?
I'm not a beach girl. I prefer to be in cities. I'm an urban city girl. I love cities. Cities are my favorite thing. But that said, when I'm talking about views, I want to see the beach. When I wake up, my perfect Sunday, the most perfect Sunday, most beautiful Sunday in the world is where I wake up and I open my curtains and I see the waves hitting and I see the beach and I can just step out, have a coffee and read a book. That for me that's what you call a Sunday. Everything else is not a Sunday, it's a Monday.
No, I was about to be like, Vidette, no, choose the sea view because the sea is it. I'm being biased right now. That's because I love the sea, so it's great to know that you do as well. So what do you think? The tourist. What do you think tourism will be like for Ghana? I want to ask you for Africa, but I feel like that's pretty broad. Then, I mean, if you can answer, what do you think? How do you see that evolving over time, say maybe in the next 5 years?
So, I mean, for me, what I'm hoping for the Africa tourism scene, like, honestly, we haven't scraped the surface of what tourism in Africa could look like in comparison to what some of the other continents are doing. I want to see more businesses like Sorted Chale. And it's a bittersweet thing for me to say, but I think it's important. It's bitter because obviously, I'm a business trying to get my cash, more competition, but again, competition makes you innovative. The sweet side is I have done a lot of research before I entered this industry, and I realized that with a huge level of demand that's going to be hitting Africa for tourism experiences, the supply, the quality of supply is not there. And when it comes to tourism, the world is your market. So I really hope that in the next 5 years, and what I would like to see in the next 5 years is more quality service providers spring up in the continent. Based on what we see today, where are we heading? I think we're heading very much in that direction. Countries like Ghana have fantastic PR. There's destinations like Tanzania that are killing the game when it comes to tourism. So it seems like a positive trajectory. And for most experienced travelers, Africa still remains hugely untouched, which means that there is a broad scope for us to fulfill some of the needs of these people. So for me, I see that the trajectory is certainly up. And I think we will start to see more people on the continent making money from the tourism sector, as is the case in many other countries, because the tourism sector is a very lucrative sector for young people, for people who can't commit to opportunities full time. Tourism means you can get opportunities, you can create experiences. You don't need to have a tour certificate to say to somebody, "Come, let me show you my village."
That's
where
very
my mother and my mother raised my siblings and I. You don't need that. You just need your story. Tourism is about sharing your story. Nobody can craft your story. And I think that that's the beauty of tourism. And I'm hoping that in the future we see a rise in more people earning from the tourism landscape.
That's amazing. I think you're right. I always say like it's still a blank canvas, like with regards to tourism in Africa. So I definitely do support what you're saying, and I honestly cannot wait because even personally myself, I cannot wait to actually travel to like other African countries. I think I will have a really good time. But I'll be contacting all of the day. Therefore, you'll contact me.
Well, it's always Sorted Chale, so we're here for you.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much for taking time to record this with me, to be on there. I really appreciate your time and also you sharing your entrepreneurial experiences and also talking to us more about Sorted Chale and the tourism industry.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to watching some of your other episodes and wishing you the very best in terms of how you kind of navigate this space.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Changing the Narrative podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and like, share, and subscribe to the Changing the Narrative podcast.